Command, I'm getting an alert. It appears we have insufficient inventory to fulfill an incoming order.
Production, what's going on?
We're predicting schedule changes due to unplanned weather conditions.
Analytics?
Forecasts show a storm hitting in 24 hours. Social listening confirms the track, and sensitivity models are predicting asset downtime due to flooding and workforce limitations.
Delays in delivery of raw materials could cause capacity loss of up to 26%.
Production, what can we do?
Running alternative production scenarios now. Our best option is to add capacity at the Northeast plant. An overtime shift would meet demand at positive margin impact. The problem is raw material inventory is too low for additional production.
Supply, if we did go into overtime, is there anything you can do to get the raw materials there in time?
Scanning inventory positions in storage and in transit. I've got raw materials on their way, but 5 days out. Wait. There's material in a warehouse we could get there in 2 days if we ship by air.
We've got clear weather on that route and a 150-knot tailwind, which will save on fuel.
We got raw materials in 2 days. We could make the order on time and stay within margin thresholds.
Exceptions. Can we make this call to go into overtime and divert materials?
Verifying this is within our tolerance to make a decision automatically. Command, we're good to go. No need to escalate to the supply chain planner.
Okay, Digital Supply Network. Let's do it.
What does digitalization of logistics mean to you? So you can post your thoughts. Just another question as a bit of an addition to that. Does anybody here know the nuances or the differences between digitalization and digitization? These two are different terms and there are differences in that. How many of you sort of need some explanation on that? You can raise your hand or you're good with it and then just post your thoughts in the chat. Okay, so we got Scott's. Okay, so for digitalization, it usually means or refers to workflows and processes, right? So that you are looking at digitalization of your workflow and processes for visibility. Okay, digitization is simpler. It would be like if you had a hard copy of a photo and you were to digitize it into, then that would be the ones and zeros, just converting it into a digital format. So that's digitization. Digitalization is what we're talking about here, which gives you visibility into workflows and processes. Is that kind of, yeah, transparency, all that. Homero?
Yeah, so the way I think about it in regards to digitization versus digitalization, good explanation, Tack, in regards to, digitization is like taking something physical and making it digital. But I also think it's important to note that it's a precursor to, it's a prerequisite, right, for digitalization, right? So there's a sequence in my mind. You need to digitize things before you can get to true digitalization.
Correct. Thank you very much. All great. Okay. Okay, so submit your answers. And then we can publish the results when everybody, we got all the responses in. Okay, so quite a good spread, quite diverse, right? From 29% to 36%. And so I think you're in the right place because hopefully we give you a little bit more of an orientation to what DCM is. Next slide, and I believe I will hand the time over to Wolfram.
Sure. Yeah, thank you, Tech. Yeah, I'm not quite sure if you see my cursor, maybe not, so but doesn't matter. I start on the left and walk to the right. We have here a 6-step model, the Digital Supply Networks Roadmap model, which is consistent to the video that you have seen at the very beginning. And it's further consistent to the DSCM, so the Digital Competence Model that we have at ASCM available. And it's a standard change program, basically, I would call it. The Deloitte development team, they put a lot of effort into it to make it consistent, and specifically, this is not so easy that the terminology stays consistent, and there are different levels, and you try to avoid words and to make definitions clear and without misunderstandings. And the so-called Digital Supply Network Roadmap helps you to move you from what you see here, one, no clue, to basically know it all. And the know it all is actually not so difficult as it might look at, because as we said already, it's a journey. It's a journey that actually never ends, but it needs the first step and the commitment to start. And now let me walk quickly through the model. Please feel free in the show notes then to read it in detail. If you have questions with the team, and I'm happy to help you and to support you. And it starts actually to assess your digital readiness. So that's this first rectangular on the left side, the screen one, and there the DSCM model has actually a very neat scoring model with a couple of questions. It takes you 15 minutes roughly to determine your digital readiness. Then this is also quite consistent to quality tools that we establish a goal. So we need to know where we want to go. Basically, good old saying, if you don't know where is your goal, basically you always move in the wrong or in the right direction, but basically you end nowhere. So therefore, we need to establish goals, and there it's highly recommended to link it to benchmark information from your industry, what you know from your competitors, but also outside your industry. So what we've done in the semiconductor industry, for example, we did a benchmark with the airline industry concerning seat reservation. And based on that, we developed a so-called hot lot system based on a benchmark where we established our goals that we want to accomplish. And it's a mid to long-term goal. So it's not a goal around the corner that we can meet next week. As said, it's a mid to long-term, and based to APICS, ASCM standards, well, I would define mid to long-term to 6 quarters up to 4 years, something like this. And then the third one, it says prioritize opportunities and identify focus function. Very clever move from the Deloitte guys that they recommend to focus on the most important things. You can relate this from your ASCM education, where you find the Pareto law, or the 80-20 rule, to distinguish the significant few and to separate them from the trivial many. That's exactly what's happening here. You focus and you start on the most important elements where we have the greatest opportunity, but also maybe the biggest risk. Number 4, identify the required capabilities. That's actually a tricky one, where I recommend that you work with someone who did it already in the past, other industry, other companies, because there it might result that you need further talents that you do not have yet in your team. So identify required capabilities. What capability gaps do you see? What is the interdependencies on the different levels. We look into this into a moment. As said, it's very consistent, and the Deloitte company did a great job here to make it so consistent. And my belief is that this system, based on the SCORE model, I guess many of us are aware, this is the next generation. So we will see the next upcoming years. Who knows, maybe 5, 10 years, something like this. Then let me finish quickly this slide. 2 more boxes. The next one says, identify key activities to fill the major gaps. Basically, you are now here already in the process of doing it. No? So that's this hand-on approach, what I always have liked in ASM topics. It's not only highly scientific and complex. No, you end up by doing it, this hands-on approach. This makes it really special. So, and you do this with the box number 5. And finally, the last one, develop an implementation roadmap. And as said, it's a journey. You ask your questions. How do I synthesize and develop the plan? Then what is the sequencing, especially all projects, the sequence of events. That's basically the big miracle, that you start with low-hanging fruit to make it attractive, that you have a broad fan base that likes and supports your project, and then you have the momentum you need to be successful. And in the last one, in the roadmap box, very important, define your metrics based on the SMART approach, which is specific, measurable, ambitious, realistic, and time-phased, that we have metrics in place that are motivating, that are achievable, and then I'm very convinced you will be successful in your journey to going digital. With that said, back to Tech and Amanda, and I'm watching with you on the next slide, please.
Great. I think the next slide, we will probably need Wolfram to talk a little bit about it. That is the link that you, so it's publicly available, right? And maybe Wolfram, you can talk a little bit about.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm happy to.
The exercise of how they get the assessments done.
Yes, super. Thank you, Tech. Thank you very much.
Okay.
This is a perfect fit and perfect transition. And on top, as Tech said, please click. That's the link. If you go there, you find exactly this slide, what you see right now. And then on the right top, mid-top corner, this green field that says assess your digital readiness. There is this tool, which is the very first box that you've seen on the previous slide, where you get a scoring, from 0 to 100, and it gives you an indication how much work is ahead of you in order to reach this certain level of digital readiness, as the Deloitte guys have described this. And they said they did this generically, which is actually quite an achievement. And it's actually fun. It's really fun, and it's a learning experience to go through this survey and to assess your digital readiness. And I learned by myself quite a lot. I've done this with several businesses already, and each businesses, when we do together this digital readiness, well, say these are very good questions. No? This triggers the further questions that help us to do the right steps. As we know, I guess all of us, we have a day job and daily operations, that we just do not see and look ahead what's around the corner and what needs to be done. And there, these questions and this assessment of our digital health readiness really helps us to look to see the broad picture. And now, very quickly, before we can go to the next slide, what you see here 6 bubbles. 6 bubbles, and this is very different to the score model that you might remember and which you have seen, which is very transactional, which is linear, and you find no more linear process description here in the DSM because it's a network. Everything interacts somehow with something in this entire landscape, and we have here 6 bullets, and let me quickly talk about them. It says first, connected customer, which makes perfectly sense. Now, customer comes first. That's what we're saying in all our trainings, and it perfectly makes sense if we are a market-driven business that we have a connected customer. Then if we go clockwise to the right, then product development, so that we early integrate customer needs in our product development, basically a basic, what you see in CSCP, for example. So we're teaching this for many, many years. And now you see this materialized in a model. So that's why I like this. Then synchronized planning, that's the third one. So basically 4 a.m. or p.m. Clockwise for the 4th hour here. So synchronized planning, which integrates demand planning and supply planning. The intelligent supply on position 6, intelligent supply, which integrates also auctions, e-auctions, and networks. And further, what I would like to mention there, the concept of the bullwhip effect. No? The bullwhip effect goes back to Professor Lee from Stanford. I remember his speech in 2002 or something. I was there. I heard this personally, and he very he was very impressive to explain the bullwhip effect, that the small movement at the customer base makes a huge swing as we go further up the value creation chain, and that's inside here. So that we understand the customer, of course, but also the customer's customer and the supplier and the supplier's supplier. And ideally, we have perfect information along the entire value chain, and we share this along the entire value creation. Then smart operation. So that's this hand-on approach, how we use with sensors, with augmented reality, with additive manufacturing, how we use this information very quickly to have small lot sizes, to be reactive and fast to our customer needs in order to be fast. Now, speed definitely is a matter, as we know, and this tool helps us actually to be fast. And further, and this relates to the previous one, dynamic fulfillment. Dynamic fulfillment, that's along our value creation chain into the interaction with suppliers and customers. But also you might call it the support processes as we have them in our businesses. Now think about contracting, HR, finance, controlling, that this is part of our dynamic fulfillment. And there I would like to refer back to this video that we've seen very nicely, no? That here the finance guys and the transport, they work together as they have the same digital information available to make fast and ideally correct decisions. And then I shut up with this slide. Here on the right-hand side, I would like to draw your attention to level 1 capabilities. So that's exactly these 6 elements we just discussed, and they have in this model now interactions with each other. And with that said, Amanda, back to you, and actually Tech as a moderator, back to you. Please carry on.
Yes, thank you. Next slide, please. And you will see, so first step is if you do the assessment, when you click on the green button on DCM, you go through this assessment. I think it takes, let's say 30 minutes or more to
Right,
about that
something.
to do
That's
it,
good. Yeah, that's good.
right?
Yeah, quite.
And you will get a score, right? And so that gives you an idea, at least a metric. If you don't have one, most companies won't, because how do you assess how ready you are, right? Every company is different. So the good thing about these frameworks for DCM is it's a standard. Everybody takes the same test. There's a level of subjectivity to it, but very powerful. Okay, we've done a lot of talking, so let's go to the questions. Okay, just want to open up now for questions from the audience. You've all been sitting there very patiently. Please either use the chat function or, okay, Anna, go ahead.
Hello.
Yes.
I want to thank you guys for this excellent presentation. I've seen the material on the website, but I really love how you guys expanded on it and contextualized it. So my question is, it's great to have this within your organization, but we know supply chains are interconnected beings. So how would you get your vendors to kind of buy into dynamic fulfillment and all that stuff?
Great question. Great question.
I can take a stab at that.
Oh, sorry. Carmen, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll take a stab at that, and then we can pass it around and see if anybody else have anything to add. So Anna, actually, in my job right now, I'm actually working on a project that I'm interacting with my suppliers to actually start this digital journey as well. So I think it really starts with the purchasing team or the procurement team being really firm about, hey, this is our requirement to do business with us. And this is the journey that we're going to go, together as partners in the future, right? And one of the things that I'm starting with is actually getting data from the supplier that enables automation, or as much automation as possible in the receiving process. So instead of manually entering all the data as part of receiving, I'm having them send us EDI information by EDI or digital format, so that we're ingesting that information as an advanced shipment notification. That's going to help us automate a lot of the receiving. So hope that answers your question, Anna.
That's an excellent way of handling it, because that is the link where you can begin controlling that information. You can't really control what they do, but you can control how you receive it. So thank you. That is very insightful.
Yeah, absolutely. Wolfram or Jack, if you have any other
no, perfect. Perfect answer. I fully support your statement, Carmen. Thank you.
Great. I have some additions to that. So Carmen, I think, already laid out the groundwork. Another thing is, if you're in supply chain, work with your procurement folks, right? I think one thing that I've observed is procurement is very, very good at working on supplier relationship management. That's kind of their core role, right? And so partner up with your procurement partners to, if you want to formalize this digitalization requirement in your supplier agreements as an addendum to it, so that, because without legal writing on a document, you have to do a lot of heavy lift to go and convince a person to buy into your benefit. But if it is agreed that this is an important requirement that all our suppliers need to do, it standardize it, right? So I've gone through something like this with a current project that I'm doing, and it deals with logistics and our 3PLs in terms of transportation management systems, warehouse management systems, as it links to asset tracking, right? So I saw the gap, we did a proof of concept, and then we worked with procurement and said, we need to standardize this. Anybody who comes in to do business with us has to have these system requirements, right? So once you standardize that, you got teeth or leverage in your relationship. And then the other part is, like Carmen has said, you make it a standard requirement if you it's more powerful if you're like what we call the nucleus firm. If you, in APICS or ASCM, we talk about the nucleus firm having the most influence within that supply chain. Depending on your level of influence, you have leverage, right? You tend to want to be collaborative, but those are some of your mechanisms that you have. Wolfram, anything you want to add?
Very good, very good. Yeah, excellent statement, Tech. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much.
Great. Any other questions? I have some questions. Okay. Carmen, in terms of logistics challenges, what are some of those logistics challenges that you're facing right now as it pertains to digitalization?
Yeah, sure. I'll mention a couple. Actually, the one that Anna just asked is actually one of my big projects, and it's a challenge because we're working to integrate the requirement into the contract. Like TAC has said, because it's not right now. So it's very difficult to work with the suppliers one-on-one to get them to do this. So that's one of my challenges today. And I think another challenge is getting the existing organization or the process that we have today, whether it's in the receiving side or in the shipping side, to really use a system-driven and validated way to eliminate any of the paper that we actually use. So instead of like, printing out a piece of paper and telling you what to pick, you should follow you follow like a scanner or a gun that you can use, and it tells you where to go and pick, right? Like that to me is the future, and getting rid of all this paperwork. So to me, I think it's also working with the quality team to make sure that, they're comfortable that the system is, doing what we're supposed to ask them to do. And the system is validated to an extent that the controls are in there. So that I think is also another challenge that my team is facing in terms of digitizing. And then the last one, I think it's an interesting one, is it's actually accessing data. So, when we use our ERP system, all the transactions are in there, but getting access to it, understanding it, and creating dashboards that tells me like, okay, how much can I plan for receiving or shipping, right? Whether it's from the suppliers or from our demand on the commercial team, and then using the data of our transactions and understanding productivity, and then setting some goals and displaying it on a dashboard, right? It's very difficult. The data is actually very difficult to access and then and interpret sometimes, if not all of the data fields are there. So those are some of my challenges today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. What about anybody else within the audience? Any of those challenges that we have not yet mentioned that you're facing on this journey? It is a journey. Anyone? Is there anything in the chat? I'm not monitoring the chat, sorry. No, okay. Yeah, so another thing is, another question is, I guess for Wolfram?
Yeah, actually, I did a typo. No, I wrote 2 times effort. How much effort do you put into the effort? Actually, I was planning to type how much time do you put into the effort. So that's a question I think we should ask ourselves, as it is a strategic task. No? And so I'm curious in the audience how you tackle this challenge to go digital, how much time you spend, and I hope you find an answer that says it's more than 0. So if it's around 0, then definitely there's room for improvement. And based what Anna said, this was actually an excellent question, and specifically I liked the reply from Carmen and Tak very much. I would really recommend to look into the bullwhip effect from Professor Lee. It's now almost 20 years out there, and he developed this model with a lot of empirical data. So it's not a scientific exercise. It's really with empirical real life data. And he made this very clear. How do you include your suppliers and the supplier of supplier? Show them the benefit. So basically, he was talking about the digitalization when this term was not even invented at this point in time. But the answers that you find in the bullwhip effect, actually, they are very valid to this day. And I can imagine, Anna, that you find answers there, how to convince and to explain the benefits to your supply base, which is a network, no? As a customer can become a supplier and a supplier can be a customer, that we benefit all if we create the transparency and the flexibility, if we do digitalization right. So that's my comment to that.
Thank you so much. I think this is a perfect segue to look at how do you get started, right? How do you get started? Let's go back to the slides, Amanda. And then we'll get Wolfram to kind of talk through, because most people, you need a bit of hand-holding. It is a very big subject with many different tangents, and it means different things to different people. So I'll hand this time over to Wolfram.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. How to use the self-guided approach. Okay, this is a great slide. I was just thinking maybe we use another. Okay, let's use this slide, and then Amanda, we go to the next slide where it says connected management, but not yet. So please stay where to the slide that you showed to us right now. So this slide is very helpful. Again, this is all officials. These are all official DCM slides. Now you find them on the website, and Deloitte guys did really a great job to make this so consistent, and definitely it works. And concerning the self-guided approach, well, as said, it's highly recommended to do the survey first, and as Tech explained to us, you get a rating from 0 to 100. And when I did this example here, you have seen the result was 55. And once you have this integrated set of answers, no, let's start this first bullet here with a bullet symbol on the very left side, then it's about to see a holistic view. Even this is not really new, in my opinion. We are talking about holistic, big picture for many decades already. But now for the first time, we have the tools and the capabilities to do it really. So therefore, it's an enhancement, and it's a step forward. So it's about this holistic view. Then third one with this wheels here, synthesizing to plan a suitable digital transformation. At the end of the day, it boils down that we have our ERP system up to date. I guess most of us, we have something like SAP, this client-server approaches. If we look to HANA S4, which is from an infrastructure completely different, where the network idea is materialized, whereas the R3 is much more transactional, as basically the score model at this point in time was the understanding of our supply chain management world. And finally, I like the last one because it has this human touch actually. At the end of the day, we will need something like a cheat sheet, something where we collect our best experiences, where we share and find answers with discussions of our customers and suppliers. It's basically a knowledge base. No? So cheat sheet maybe depends on the cultural context. Some people say that's a complete no-go. So when I was a planner many years ago, my manager, our manager, he was very against cheat sheet, but basically all of us, we had a cheat sheet because we did not trust our forecasting systems. So we had our Excel spreadsheet below the table and did our double checking if this is indeed possible. But nevertheless, I would see it I would quite see it positive. Cheat sheet as an information base, as a knowledge base, that we develop this together, how we learn along the road. Because as Tag said, it's a journey and it's about to decide the first step. But once you're going, we're going. And now, Amanda, please go to the next slide. In the previous slide, you have seen quickly the connected customer, which is on level 1. So we have 6 elements on level 1, the connected customer, and there one sub-element, level 3, then level 2 is customer management. Customer management, and there we see very nicely, and I have always here my example from Mercedes quite some years back. So I hope, I don't know whoever drives a Mercedes of you, but it's a great car, no doubt about that. But it's a story I will never forget because it's so real, and it shows so nicely what happens if you leave engineers alone. So what we've seen there was around 2000 that the E-Class had a feature of a moving moonlight window, basically a roof window, which has the functionality that it closes down when you drive fast on the highway because of turbulences, fuel consumptions, and it opens up automatically if you drive slowly. But that's a feature the customer did not understand. So basically the roof above your head basically goes back and forth, and the customer thought that's a bug and brought it into the garage to fix it. And they said, no, it's not a bug, it's a feature. But finally it ended, and they did all the checking and they found out it's perfect Mercedes quality. The algorithm is right, the ceiling is right, everything good. But the customer was not ready to accept it and understand it. And that happens exactly here. What you see here to the right, where it says product development collaboration. So never ever leave design engineers alone. Integrate them with supply chain folks, of course, with marketing and sales, that we have here descriptions of features to be developed that actually really hit the nail and the customer needs, wants, and understands. And that's this way of thinking that you find here in the DSM. And you see it then here further elements. I don't want to read them out loud, so please play by yourself in the tool. It's mostly self-explanatory. Do you pronounce this right? I don't know. So you can easily navigate by yourself through this tool. If you have questions, the chapter, myself, we are happy to help and to support you. But you make sure by applying this model that you're definitely on the safe side from a holistic point of view. So you will not overlook something fundamentally. So you have the key elements covered. And with that said, maybe let's do one more slide, please, Amanda, if you go to the next one. Yes, perfect. Yeah. So what you see here, the connected customer. No? Connected customer, we just talked quickly about customer management, but there's much more out there. And we see there, if we go now counterclockwise, the customized experience. What a topic, the customized experience. Now with social media, just look what Apple and others are doing. They have scouts out there who don't do anything else the entire day than to track what people are writing in social media, what are their questions, what is the topic. And that's this digitalized customer experience as it happens right now. And you have discovered here in this model, or connected field services, another great topic. Connected field service, where our guys, our field engineers are out there and to use their experience, their findings in our customer connected, in our connected customer bubble, which is actually here on level 1. And frictionless ordering, and there Carmen is the expert. Frictionless ordering, another great topic. How do we make it smooth and easy, and to make it flow conveniently for our customer, that they are super happy and like to come back? And maybe, Carmen, would you like to comment something about frictionless ordering? How does this look like, and how can we make this ordering experience for our customer conveniently?
Yeah, sure. So I think there's probably a couple ways to make it easy for the customer if they have the infrastructure, then integrate with them with EDI or API, right, where their data is automatically connected to in my case with Dexcom, so they could have all their ordering information automatically entered into our system, so they don't actually have to do any entry themselves. Another way to actually do it is through some sort of a customer relationship management system, where they are going into the tool, and then it's very user friendly. They can order it from a catalog. I think those are some tools that can make it very easy for the customer. One thing I see, here is there's an area about customized experience within the same tool. One of the things that we're working on is actually to expand it to where they can actually submit complaints. And then with that, we're tracking internally how we are working through the complaint through our various teams, depending on what the issue is. And also integrating potential damages, right? As we're investigating, we're like, okay, there's damage, and then we're linking it all the way to investigation and coming back to the claim. So super powerful tool. Definitely use these, these different options that's available depending on your customer's, I would say, digital capability.
Thank you. Well, and with this, that said, I would like to give back to Tuck and to moderate further.
Okay, thank you very much. Any of you, if you have questions, please drop it in the chat now. I think one thing I will say is, the gold standard in terms of customer experience has to be Amazon Prime, right? That I don't think there's anything as frictionless. I didn't know you could make things even more frictionless, but they keep doing it more frictionless until my money just keeps going out faster every time. If you see how they've iterated the app, it's getting easier and easier to make purchases, right? Everything. And if you see now, they have Amazon Pharmacy, right? Because what is really interesting is they have gone into wholesale, what we call they basically have very large warehouses that just like CVS, right? They're now doing dispensing, right? Over the counter kind of stuff. So it's literally this omni-channel portal that you can now also, if you look at your app, sorry, I think, do you have a question, Ivan? If not, probably have to mute. You can see that what good really looks like, right? Because not only can you get drugs delivered to you through your app, you can also see the primary care physician. They are just adding more and more to it and collecting more and more of your data, right? And making it even more seamless. It's almost magical, but it's very engineered, right? That's a lot of process engineering in there. But we all have to start somewhere, right? I know that's the goal, but we need to figure out where we stand right now today. And I think that's where a great tool like this helps you level set, especially for your team, because these projects, you can't do it by yourself. It's going to take a lot of leadership buy-in. It could be a 5-year journey, 3 to 5 year journey. So with that said, are there any other questions or comments for our panel that you have? Please drop them in the chat, or you can raise your hand, unmute yourself, and ask your questions. We want to make sure that we can address as many of your questions as possible before I talk about what's next in terms of our programming and all that. Anything? Sorry, I'm not looking at the chat. Is there anything in the chat that I should know about? So, okay, before I talk about next event, make sure you set time on your calendar and do the assessment. I think doing it, you'll learn so much from it. Okay, so lock it down and do that. Next events, I think we will have, most likely we're going to have a, I think we're trying to arrange like an Amazon online fulfillment center tour, right? And Amanda's going to have more information coming out. That's always very interesting. I've done a few of these. Well, I worked in one, so I do, but I still enjoy the tour, and I enjoy the one that they do for engineers as well. And then as part of the conversation, this talk shop series, probably the next quarter, one of the things, one of the ideas we do have is, maybe decoding a bit about how Amazon Logistics do their digitalization. That one is always very interesting. Wolfram.
Yeah, this was from before. I just, as I see, I just raised my hand. I just would like to comment, and it's typed it into the chat that Amazon makes 70% of their revenue. This was a recent number, with information that is already in their system. So that's quite impressive, I think. Now, so once it's a self-fulfilling revenue machine that has been created there. Yeah. So. Yeah, thank
absolutely.
You. Yeah.
Absolutely. In fact, they probably don't make a lot of money. In fact, they might be losing money on their logistics business. But 3/4 of the revenue is by AWS anyway, right? The revenue is not from, and the profits are not from the logistics. When you buy a $5 piece of whatever and return it, they lose money, right? So, but they are using the data, right? They sell a lot of their solutions and all that. Yeah, so they do a lot of stuff really, really phenomenal that we can all learn from. Well, we are slightly ahead of time, but I don't want to take up too much of your time. We've come to the end, right? So you can obviously find out more information. Another one, and this one probably I will share my screen. So if you can see, this is our SIG, right? And this is our event today. Hold on, come on. The one that I wanted to show you as part of the journey, if you go to this certification, right? You will see that SCORE or DCM are not listed as part of the certification. This is though, right? So when you click on this, you're actually going to get this, okay? And this is the newest certification. It's in beta format, and it's one that I'm studying right now, and my exam is going to be in October. And it basically brings together SCORE and the DCM together. Okay, so that might be something of interest to you. Okay, so check it out. And we welcome all comments. Send it over. We'd love to hear from you. Do we have any other polls that we have yet to do? If not, then we have come to the end of our program. thank you so much for all your kind attention, and do let us know how we did, and do join us for our next events. Have a great evening.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wolfram.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Wolfram.
Wolfram.